Mrs. Waverley, you're pregnant. The female doctor announced the news with a smile, sitting opposite to her like any other woman. Elisa was shocked, surprised, and out of the world. She couldn't believe that she was pregnant, although she did have this thought when her period didn't arrive this month and the frequent vomiting for a few days. You are 2 months pregnant, Dr. Schuyler further added, checking the report in her hand. She brought her fingers to her rosy cheeks and calmed her beating heart. It felt like everything she ever desired was happening. I am pregnant, she articulated. A wide smile spread across her face, and she looked at the doctor. Congratulations. I will write a few supplements which you need to take. Morning sickness, nausea, and moodiness are normal symptoms of early pregnancy. Take it twice a day. Dr. Schuyler wrote the names of drugs on the notepad hurriedly and tearing the paper from the book. She handed it to Elisa. Thank you, doctor. Elisa took the report kept inside a file and thanked the doctor one last time. She left her cabin. Elisa felt giddy from inside, and she was desperate to tell this news to her husband, Carson. He would be so happy to hear the news. But Elisa decided to surprise him once she went home. She would bring his favorite in-law cheesecake along to double the joy. She then walked up to the chemist department located on the ground floor for the medicines. Once she had taken the drugs required, she left the hospital and went to the bakery to buy cheesecake. Elisa reached the Waverley residency and then got out of the car, which stopped in front of the house. Taking the packages in her hand, she strolled inside and was making her way towards the stairway when her mother-in-law called her. Elisa paused in her tracks. Her smile faltered a little, but she gave her mother-in-law a cheery smile. But as always, Hera wasn't pleased. In fact, she despised Elisa. With a sour face, her eyes averted to the things Elisa was carrying in her hand. What is that? She asked in her high-pitched tone. Elisa was about to tell the news of pregnancy, but stopped herself. She thought it would be better if she told her husband first and then Hera. It's cheesecake. I brought it for Carson. She half lied. Hera scoffed and crossed her arms before her chest. From whose money have you bought that? She taunted. Elisa lowered her head and looked down at the shiny marble floor while biting her lip. She had heard this often. Since the day she married Carson, she had heard a whole lot of awful things from Hera. She knew Hera didn't like her because she wasn't the one she chose for her son. Another reason was that she came from a poor background with no status and reputation. What? Why don't you answer me now? Hera scorned, satisfied to see her at submission. I'll go check on Carson. Elisa said and turned on her heels to head for the stairs, but Hera stopped her again. Elisa was a bit confused why her mother-in-law, who never spent a minute with her, actively wanted her to stay. I'm not finished yet. You are being disrespectful to me. Hera made up an excuse to make her wait for a while more. She kept on looking upstairs towards the room that Elisa and Carson shared. I'm not being disrespectful, Mother. The cheesecake would get messy if not taken out, she said with a small smile. And there is an important news I want to tell Carson. Hera cocked her eyebrow at her with a question. She wondered what important news must it be, but she didn't ask her that. Elisa was desperate to meet Carson. She was barely keeping up about telling him the news. Excuse me. This time, Hera didn't stop her, and Elisa was relieved about that. Quickly, she reached upstairs and made her way to their room. With each step she took, her smile widened and her heart rate fastened. She stopped in front of the room's door and stretched her hand forward to push the door inside. Elisa froze on her spot. The scene in front of her made her lose her footing. She couldn't believe her eyes. She really couldn't. She blinked. Not once, not twice, but numerous times. Thinking about the ugly scene in front of her eyes would vanish like a nightmare. However, it was all real. Carson was lying on the bed, along with a woman beside her naked. They both were lying intimately with their arms over each other. Hearing Elisa's short voice, he opened his eyes and he got up with a sigh. The woman shifted beside him, and when her face came into view, Elisa felt her knees weak. Carson was half naked when he removed the duvet over him. Elisa realized she wasn't breathing when she felt her chest constrict. Her chin trembled and the packages dropped from her hold and splattered onto the ground. She stumbled backward and was about to fall when she grabbed the edge of the cabinet beside her. Carson showed no emotions of guilt or surprise, neither what Elisa was expecting. He very calmly stood beside the bed and stared at Elisa with coldness, something Elisa never saw. The woman covered her upper body with the duvet, draping herself while keeping her face lowered as if she was the victim in this situation. She pretended to be innocent and glanced at Elisa with her round eyes and then at Carson, who had his eyes on Elisa hooded. Elisa gulped hardly and took steps toward him. Carson stood unfazed as if what deed he did was nothing he was ashamed of. With her trembling hands, Elisa breathed, "How could you?" The room was silent. Only Elisa's cracking voice was heard. "How could you do this to me, Carson?" She couldn't yell as her emotions felt like choking her. Tears rolled down her cheeks and her chest tightened to the utmost. Carson gave her a cold look, and then his hazel eyes moved to things that were lying on the ground. He narrowed his eyes at the file and brushed past her to pick the file. Elisa couldn't digest what was happening. At first, when Elisa noticed the change in behavior in Carson a few days ago, she thought maybe it was because of the stress of the company. How foolish of her to think that. The woman slipped from the bed wearing Carson's shirt that remained to her thighs, barely enough to cover her upper area. Elisa glared at the woman whom she thought was a good friend. Amanda was the daughter of one of Hare's friends, and she started to visit the Waverly residency a few months ago. It didn't take her long to make friends with Elisa, but it was only for evil means. Carson came to Elisa with the report in his hand. "What is this about?" he asked, sounding impatient. Elisa stared at the report and bit her lip hard as the tears flowed vehemently. All the excitement and hope dissipated in thin air. She met Carson's eyes and broke the news of her pregnancy. "I am pregnant, Carson." Carson's eyes widened, but his surprised expression soon turned into disgust as he remembered the truth. Elisa watched him clenching his jaws as if he wasn't happy to hear the news, and it pained her more and more. At that moment, Hera entered, and just as she was expecting the scenario to be, it was just that. She did her smile and shared glances with Amanda. "Carson, why did you cheat me with her?" Elisa demanded by grabbing his both arms with her weak ones. Carson removed her grip from his arm as if sickened by her touch. Her heart crumbled and was in the state of breaking completely. "You asked about cheating, Elisa? Then what about you?" he thundered. Elisa couldn't reciprocate what he meant by that. Carson went on. "You're the one who cheated on me first." "What?" Elisa was traumatized by his allegations against her. This wasn't Carson. What are you talking about? You're the one cheating on me and now you blame it on me? Carson went to his side of the nightstand and opened the first drawer. From there, he took out a few photographs and showed the first one to Elisa. It is you, isn't it? He said through his gritted teeth, anger radiating from him. The photograph of her and a strange man lying on the bed made her gasp. She snatched the photo from his hand and examined it closely. No, it wasn't her, but the picture had her face. This is not true. It isn't me, Carson. She protested, but she had already fallen into a big trap. This is not true. It isn't me, Carson. She protested, but she had already fallen into a big trap. Your mouth can lie, but this picture will not. He bellowed and threw the pictures at her, which went flying on the ground. For how long have you been cheating on me, Elisa? Carson, believe me, it's not me. I would never do such a thing to you. She begged, but it wasn't of any use. She reached to hold his hand, but he jerked away. How shameful. I knew you are filth. Hera chimed in, pretending to be new to the truth. How dare you cheat my son behind his back? She stepped forward and forcefully grabbing Elisa's arm. She made her face her. Tell me, is that child in your room that man's? Elisa was aghast at what her mother-in-law said. No, it's ours. It's mine and Carson's. She defended herself and she placed her palm on her belly. Carson, believe me, the pictures aren't true. She went on begging him. Seeing Elisa in such a pathetic state stirred something in Carson's chest. He refused to look at her and clenched his jaws hardly. Elisa bawled. How can this happen? She cried. She looked down at the pictures, wondering who would frame her like this. She had no idea who that man was. But even if she kept on protesting, there wasn't any use for that. Let's divorce, Carson stated. Elisa's face paled hearing the news, and her mind went numb and cold. He met her eyes and repeated the words, I want to end this marriage. Elisa couldn't believe her ears. No, Carson, you cannot do this to me. We can resolve this, can't we? How naive of her to still have hope for that. Carson shook his head in dismissal. There wasn't any room left for resolution and discussion. But we love each other. How can you end this just in a blink? She shouted. I do not love you anymore, Elisa. We are over. No emotions, nothing. His hazel eyes held no emotions at all. It was as if he was doing a business meeting. It felt to her as if she meant nothing to him anymore. No, I don't buy that. We took vows to love and cherish each other to the end. Then you should have kept that in mind when you were hooking with that man behind my back. He snapped at her. Amanda walked towards him and slid her arm around his. Don't be mad, she said tenderly and acted intimate. Elisa felt like puking seeing the two acting close. Since when did these two start to get close, and why was she not aware of that? I have called my lawyer. He has prepared the divorce papers, and we only need to sign on that, he asserted as a matter of fact. Elisa was angry, pained, and traumatized. She felt like a fool who thought she had the best husband, who doted on her dearly. Seeing him completely fine with Amanda brushed her fingers delicately on his chest, made her wonder about the time when he said that he hated when any other woman tried to be intimate with him other than her. She let out a bitter laugh and wiped her tears roughly. Is she the reason you are divorcing me? Without a change in his expression, he answered, Yes, I love her. Those words damaged her internally. Okay, I will sign the divorce papers. What was the use of begging when he didn't even love her? Carson faltered a bit, but regained his composure again. Clearing his throat, he said, Good. At that, Hera and Amanda were on cloud nine. What they had planned was working. They both shared a knowing smile. Amanda told in between, We love each other very much. Sorry, but this wasn't the way you should have found out. Elisa ignored her words completely. She felt like an outsider once again in this room, a sudden odd feeling that wasn't able to comprehend. Now she thought that there was only her and her baby. However, Hera had different plans for that. After you sign the papers, you will go to the hospital for abortion. Elisa was staggered. No, I will not abort the baby. Carson, tell her to abort the baby, she ordered her son. Elisa had thought that no matter what, Carson wouldn't be that heartless to abandon her own child. Gulping and with a tense expression, he said what his mother wanted. You will go to the hospital for the abortion. What? You heard him. I don't want you to have anything related to our family. How could they be so cruel? Elisa's heart and trust were completely shattered. She never thought she would have to see a day like this. What are you waiting for? Go and sign the divorce papers. Carson signed heavily and was the first one to proceed. Elisa mustered her leftover courage and went after him. Hera and Amanda walked after them, snickering among themselves about their successful plan. The lawyer was already present in the living room, along with the divorce papers kept on the rectangular glass table. The members took their seats on the couch and chairs. Elisa was trembling, and tears wouldn't stop flowing from her eyes. She felt tired and weak. Carson took the pen and, without wasting any second, signed the papers quickly. At each paper he signed, Elisa felt her chest tighten to the utmost, which made her unable to breathe. Carson was done, and he shifted the papers to Elisa. Elisa grabbed the pen with her trembling hand and read the words, which were written boldly on the first page. Divorce agreement. Do it quick, Hera urged with annoyance. Elisa signed, and with that, divorce was settled. From now on, there were no more husband and wife. From now on, she and Carson have no relationship. Now Elisa was left with nothing. I will proceed this to the court. It will be done within 2 days. The lawyer said and took his leave. Take her to the hospital now, Hera said. Elisa saw Carson curling his fingers into a fist, sitting beside her. She peered her gaze up, but instead of what she desired, she found the indifference on his face. Carson rose and told Elisa to come with him. Wait, I'll come too, Hera articulated. She couldn't trust her son at the moment. After all, she was carrying his blood, and it wouldn't take time for him to soften his heart. No one said anything, and the four left for the hospital in the car. At the hospital, Dr. Schuyler was surprised and happy to see Elisa and her family, but the moment she noticed her red and lifeless eyes, she wasn't happy anymore. They came inside her cabin and demanded her abortion. Dr. Schuyler was shocked at the request, but didn't dare ask anything. The sooner, the better, Hera added at last. Schuyler frowned at the indifference of the members. All right, I will arrange for the operation. Except for Elisa, you all are requested to go out. Once they all left, Schuyler came beside Elisa and asked, What happened, Elisa? She could see Elisa was trying to control her tears and kept her head lowered. Dear, you can tell me. If they are forcing you or anything, please tell me. Elisa grabbed her hand tightly and told her briefly about what happened. I want to keep the baby. Please, please, doctor, help me. Dr. Schuyler's heart clenched in pain, knowing about her situation. Please, I don't want to abort my child. Help me, doctor. Elisa begged her. Dr. Schuyler's heart ached because she has been in a similar situation before. She felt that Elisa was too pitiful and remembered her little sister once faced the same situation. Don't worry, I will help you. Elisa stares at the lights that were attached to the ceiling of the operation room. She was lying on the operating bed with her both hands placed on her belly. Dr. Schuyler told her she would help her keep the baby, and that Elisa trusted her. Her eyes wandered towards the door, waiting for the sign for Dr. Schuyler. Meanwhile, Dr. Schuyler was informing Hera and the others that they were not allowed to stay outside of the operation room. Our hospital rules say that, she told when Hera asked for the reason. Please wait in the waiting room. Hera made a face but agreed. Hera told Carson to come with her, but Carson didn't want to leave. Glancing the door for one last time, he went to the ground floor, where the waiting room resided. Once Dr. Schuyler came in, Elisa's heart was in relief. She pushed herself to sit, keeping her palm on her belly protectively, and looked at the doctor with her tearful eyes. Doctor. Don't worry, Elisa. I have promised to help you, and I will. Seeing how vulnerable Elisa was, Dr. Schuyler felt bad for her. She assured her that nothing would happen to her or the baby. She then asked the two intern nurses to leave and asked for the head nurses to stay put. Once the nurses left, she told them about her plan. Understood? She asked after explaining the plan. Carson offered $5 million and handed it to her. The check was still in her hand, crumpled inside her closed palm. She couldn't take the money. Yes, she said, and Dr. Schuyler gave her a small smile. She would have to do it for her and her baby. Elisa took Dr. Schuyler's hand and placed the check on her open palm. Please return this to him. Dr. Schuyler glanced at the check and a large amount of money written on it. She could understand how Elisa must have felt. She signed and nodded. Isla, you will take Elisa to the back door. Wait for me outside the back door, and make sure no one sees you. She articulated to the head nurse. The nurse named Isla nodded. Janice and I will be here for our second plan. Since they didn't have much time with themselves, they needed to hurry. Isla grabbed Elisa by her hand, and the two exited out of the doors. Once she found the area was clear, she led her to the ground floor through the stairs. After they ambled down the stairs, Isla made Elisa wear a mask for precaution. Don't worry, she gave a light squeeze to her hand in assurance. Elisa could only nod as a response. The back door has located in the corner, most left to the storeroom. Elisa and Isla cautiously walked further and towards the direction of the storeroom. On their way, another nurse asked, Where are you taking her? Elisa panicked and held Isla's hand tightly. She needed to use the washroom. Isla lied. The nurse gave her a skeptical look at the way Elisa was panicking. The nurse left luckily, and the two made their way quickly towards the back door. There wasn't anyone present near the storeroom, and so they hurried before anyone came. Isla managed to take Elisa out of the back door and went to where Dr. Schuyler's car was parked. Dr. Schuyler has given Isla the car keys and told her to carefully take Elisa inside. You stay here until the doctor comes for you. I need to get back quickly, Isla asserted. She saw Isla going inside through the door and hoped for Dr. Schuyler to come soon. Dr. Schuyler went to the ground floor to face Hera and the others. On her way to the waiting room, she noticed Isla coming from the other side. She asked Isla through signals and was relieved to find that Elisa was safely waiting in her car. Now she had to tell the family and leave soon. Reaching the waiting room, she saw only Hera and the other woman sitting on the metal seats. She walked toward them and told them the news. The operation is successful. Hera and Amanda shared a smile. Where is she? Hera asked with a distant tone, peering behind Dr. Schuyler. Straightening her round glasses, Dr. Schuyler said, Unfortunately, Miss Elisa left immediately after that. She didn't say anything, and she asked me to give you this. She handed the check to Hera and exited the room. Hera narrowed her eyes to the check in her hand. Angered, she crumbled the paper in her hand and threw it aside. That wench dared to run! Amanda took this as an opportunity to finish Elisa's existence from the Waverleys once and for all. She gently tried to assure Hera, Don't be so angry, Aunt. We should think from another perspective. Hera raised her eyebrow at her. What do you mean? I mean, we should be glad that she left on her own and the money is saved. We can tell Carson that she ran away with the money. Hera took a moment to think for a while. She felt Amanda was right indeed. She would have told Elisa to leave the city anyway, but she had already done it before her orders. You're right. When he will know how greedy and heartless that woman is, he will automatically forget about her, she sneered. She then placed her open palm on Amanda's shoulder and smiled. Amanda, from now on you should address me as Mom, okay? Amanda was elated. Now that she had the full approval of Hera, it wouldn't take her long to seduce Carson and marry him soon. Just then, Hera got the phone call from Carson. She accepted the call and brought her phone close to her ear. How is it? The operation is done or not? Hera glanced at Amanda, and after she gave a nod, she said what they have planned just now. Yes, son, the operation is successful, but she ran away. What? The doctor told us that Elisa ran away right after the operation was done, along with the money. How cruel and greedy for her, Carson. Elisa. Dr. Schuyler came to her car while Elisa was waiting. Relief flooded over her instantly when she saw Dr. Schuyler. The doctor stepped inside the car and shut the door. She was sitting on the driver's seat and turning her neck towards Elisa. She asked, You okay? Elisa bobbed her head. What did they say? She asked, worried and scared. Dr. Schuyler signed sadly and told her, Don't worry, I managed there. They didn't ask where you went, and also I gave the check to her. Wasn't Carson there? His name coming out of her mouth made her emotional again. No matter what, she had loved this man and had sworn to love him all her life. Dr. Schuyler frowned and thought what should she say. Lying wouldn't make her any better, so she told her that he wasn't there. Elisa felt disappointed. She didn't know what else to even think of him. I will take you to your home, Dr. Schuyler said tenderly, reaching forward to squeeze her hand in assurance. Elisa lowered her head, staring down at her knotted fingers, and rested in her lap. I have nowhere else to go. She felt ashamed to say that. Let's go to my apartment then, Dr. Schuyler said. When Elisa looked up, she found a smile that assured her that she could trust her. I don't know how will I return the gratitude you provided, Doctor, Elisa sobbed. Call me Skylar, Elisa, she said. We will talk about it later, after we reach home. Skylar came like an angel for Elisa and saved her from her worst phase. Skylar Jefferson lived in a medium apartment on the eastern coast of A City. She lived there alone. Her mother would always nag her to get herself a boyfriend, but there hasn't been any man that pleased her eyes, at least not romantically. It wasn't that she was ugly appearance-wise. No, she wasn't. Skylar was beautiful, with shoulder-length honey brown hair, mesmerizing gray eyes, and hearty lips. She would easily get anyone, only that she wasn't interested. When she brought Elisa to her apartment, she wasn't sure how to take care of it. Elisa was disheartened, traumatized, and on top of that, pregnant. She was afraid that her mental condition and stress would affect the baby. She leaned her shoulder when Elisa poured her heart out all night. It made her cry as well. She had never experienced such a thing, and she wished she never had to. Elisa was packing when Dr. Schuyler opened the door. Elisa was startled at her arrival. Confused, Schuyler asked, "Why are you packing, Elisa?" She put down the bag on the table and walked toward Elisa. Elisa bit her lips and her eyes averted from left to right, wondering how she should explain. My brother is coming to pick me up." Skylar's eyes widened in astonishment. She had no idea Elisa had a brother too. Elisa was surprised too when she got a call from her brother an hour ago, the brother with whom she had lost contact years ago. Hearing his voice, she was overwhelmed and she couldn't help herself from sobbing. In that flow, she ended up telling him that she wasn't in the right state. He immediately asked her to pack her things and he would come to pick her up. Elisa was worrying the whole morning about how she would feed herself and her baby. She couldn't stay here and be a burden to Skylar forever. She was relieved to get a call from her brother, Jonathan. Elisa told Skylar everything about how she hadn't heard anything from her older brother for years. "You have helped me so much that I can't thank you enough." Elisa smiled. "I will surely repay you whenever you need my help, Doctor." Skylar breathed a laugh. "I hope you will be happy and safe wherever you go, Elisa. I will miss you." A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, Elisa was met with the familiar face she missed all these years. Her eyes got watery again when she saw her brother. "Brother." She hugged him tightly, her tears wetting his sweater. Skylar stared at the man in front of her, and she couldn't help but stare at him. She couldn't comprehend why her heart was fluttering at a time like this, but she knew the reason. Elisa's brother was undeniably handsome and maybe the most attractive. His hair was in the same color as that of Elisa's, styled neatly with a few strands falling on his forehead. He glanced at her for a second, and her belly flipped. Just for 1 second when their eyes met, blue to gray, she thought she almost lost breathing. Jonathan chuckled, embracing her little sister after so many years. "I missed you too, Ellie." Sniffing, she met his blue eyes and asked how did he get her number. "I remember your number with my heart, and I had assumed that you have kept the same number. And I was right. I am so glad I find you, Ellie." He smiled, bringing out the dimples on his face. Elisa introduced her brother to Skylar. Skylar was awestruck and she shuddered while introducing herself to him. His smile was damn charming. "Thank you for taking care of my sister," he said with a smile. Skylar blushed and smiled back. Even his voice was smooth like silk. "It was my job as a doctor," she said, shaking his hand. She then offered him a glass of juice, but he politely declined to say they would be late for the flight. Jonathan carried his sister's luggage and said goodbye to Skylar. Later, they took their leave from her apartment. Skylar watched as they went to the black Mercedes. Soon the car was out of her sight. 3 years later, here are the documents you required, sir. Elisa kept the documents on the desk and waited for her boss' command. Her boss was on the phone call and she thought she could come later, but he asked her to wait. I understand. I'll be there soon. Benjamin ended the call and turned his attention to Elisa with a smile. Guess what? I am bad at guessing. You know that very well, sir. Elisa replied assertively, which made Benjamin chuckle. We're going to City A, he revealed. Elisa almost choked on her saliva hearing the name of the city where she had lived before coming here to City B. Worried, Benjamin handed her a glass of water. She hastily drank the water and regained her composure. She couldn't let him know about the horrible time she had over there. Is everything all right? He asked. Elisa nodded, lying that she was completely fine. So what is the purpose of going there? He leaned on the leather chair, and with a smirk on his handsome square face, he said, to expand my territory. Elisa shook her head with a small smile at the confidence he had. It was one of the traits she admired him for, and it was also the reason that Benjamin was the CEO of the largest estate corporation in B City. When are you leaving? He shook his head, which made her confused. Not me. You are coming with me as well. Elisa's eyes widened a little, and she felt a sudden discomfort in her chest. She doesn't want to go there. That city only reminded her of her hurtful past and about the man she loved dearly who betrayed her cruelly. Can I request to not go? Benjamin frowned and asked her about the reason. I don't like traveling very much, sir, and there is a lot of work pending here, so it will be better if you go alone, she said. I can't go there without my assistant, Elisa. You are needed. Is it a need to go there? What if I don't go there, some other CEO will take my position and you might be in a fragile spot to lose your job if they do not like you. Do you want that? Elisa pondered for a minute. She absolutely couldn't afford to lose her job. With a heavy heart, she agreed to go with him. I will obey your orders, sir. Great. We're departing tomorrow, he said further. Elisa nodded, keeping the bitter memories to herself. After the work, Elisa went to her apartment. Using the spare key, she opened the door and kept the essentials she brought on the table beside the shoe rack. I am home. Leah, where are you, sweetheart? Elisa called dearly, and within a minute, her 2.5-year-old daughter came bouncing from her room. Elisa smiled brightly and scooped her daughter in her embrace. Did you miss me, darling? Leah giggled and touched her mom's cheeks lightly with her small hands. I miss you, Mummy. Elisa laughed and gave a kiss on her daughter's cheek. Just at that moment, her brother appeared from the kitchen, startling her. Brother, I thought you left. Jonathan grinned. He leaned by the doorframe and Elisa noticed his shirt had a stain of curry. Were you cooking? She asked. Jonathan let out a nervous laugh. Well, I tried to, but it didn't go well, so I ordered. The food is already here. Come, let's eat. You must be tired. Elisa smiled and put down Leah on her feet. Jonathan called Leah and Elisa went to wash her face and hands before going to eat. The three sat at the dining table, having a warm dinner, even if the food was ordered. I will need your help, brother, to take care of Elisa. I have to leave tomorrow for work to A City, Elisa informed, taking a bite of fried potatoes. Jonathan knew what happened to Elisa in that city, and so he was worried. Will it be all right? The city has a lot of darkness that you escaped from, and I know, brother, I don't want to go there as well, but I will lose my job if I don't go. Besides, I have become stronger. Elisa's assured smile didn't match the fear and panic in her eyes. Jonathan breathed a smile, trusting her sister, but still, he was worried. After the dinner, Jonathan left quickly as he had a meeting he needed to take care of. Elisa played with Leah and along with that packed her things for tomorrow. Mommy, where are you going? She asked with her big angel-like eyes. Her eyes were the same as Carson's, blue, and no matter how much she tried to forget about him, her daughter always reminded her of him. Elisa placed her dress and answered her daughter's question. Yes, sweetheart, but Mommy will be back soon. Until then, you will stay at Uncle Johnny, okay? Leah was sad. Her lips turned down and she started to sob. Elisa noticed and left her packing, going straight to her daughter. She hugged her tightly to calm her down. Don't cry, my love. My Leah is very brave, isn't she? I will be back soon before you will know. Leah somehow stopped and was quiet in her mother's embrace. They stayed like that for a while, and when she fell asleep, Elisa took her to her room, making her sleep on the bed. I love you, Elisa whispered, giving a kiss on Leah's forehead. She would miss her daughter very much too. She has never gone this far from her, and she was worried if Jonathan would handle her or not. Nevertheless, she had to go to A City even though her heart desired not to. City A. It's been a long time since I came here. Kind of makes me nostalgic, Benjamin articulated, striding towards the airport gates with Elisa by his side. Surprise, Elisa asked. You came here before? She didn't know much about his past or anything related to his personal things. I went to college here, he replied. Elisa didn't know that he too had a past here in A City. Elisa too felt a wave of nostalgic recollections the moment her feet landed on the grounds of A City. Benjamin was excited and happy, while Elisa was worried and anxious. She was worried for Leah. In the morning, she was surprised that her daughter didn't cry when she was leaving. It did ease her a little, but still, she was only 3 years old, and there was another thing she was worried about. She couldn't help but worry about the possibility of bumping into Carson, even though she had told herself many times that she wouldn't think about him. She failed to keep that promise. She was more than worried for Leah, because if the Waverleys knew that the child Elisa had aborted was alive, they might do something hurtful to Leah. Elisa was hoping that they returned to City B soon. 2 hours later, Benjamin dropped Elisa outside the apartment, making sure she was all right. He had asked several times to stay with him in his villa, but Elisa was headstrong with her decision to stay in the apartment. She didn't want it to be a burden to him and make things awkward. Benjamin left after having a tea, and Elisa was alone in the apartment. The apartment was well furnished with all the furniture modernized and clean. The apartment was good, and she was satisfied at what she got with the decent amount. After arranging her clothes, she was tired. She took a moment to relax herself on the couch in the living area. Few seconds later, she opened her eyes and realized she hadn't called Leah. Smiling to herself, she took out her phone and dialed her brother's number. Within seconds, he picked up. Elisa beamed, seeing Leah grinning at her through the other side of the call. Hey, baby, how is my sweetheart doing? She asked sweetly, adjusting the screen so her face was visible to them. Jonathan took Leah in his lap. Mommy, Leah squealed. Elisa's heart melted, and she already missed her daughter so much. Elisa was relieved that Leah wasn't upset about her absence there, but still, she couldn't help but be worried about her. Jonathan coughed, and Elisa's expression changed. Brother, have you taken the medicines? She asked worriedly. For a few months, Jonathan was not doing well, yet he pretended he was fine. He nodded. I told you to hire a nanny. Why do you? I am fine, Ellie. With Leah by my side, I am more than fine. He grinned and gave a kiss to Leah. Elisa sighed. How was she supposed to convince him? Elisa talked with her daughter, and when she got a call from the company, she had to end the call. Elisa was done with the work stuff and thought of watching the television. The moment she turned on the television, the name of Carson made her tense. It was an advertisement of cold drinks. She quickly changed the channel, but her mood was already ruined. How long? She wondered how long would it take her heart to stop skipping a beat every time she heard his name. She let a bitter laugh, already knowing the answer. Never. Elisa was hurrying to do her hair and makeup, in between muttering about Benjamin's last-minute update about them going for dinner outside. Satisfied with her look, she exited the room carrying the clutch and went downstairs directly where Benjamin was waiting for her. Reaching down the building, her mouth formed in the shape of an O when she saw the Porsche car behind Benjamin. Benjamin was awestruck to see Elisa in that dress. Everything was simply perfect, and the way she pouted her rosy lips and the widening of her brown orbs made his heart flutter. He smiled and stretched his open palm forward for her to take. Placing her hand in his, she asked with amusement, "Your car?" "Hey, I am the CEO of the largest company at B. I do have some dignity," he joked, making Elisa chuckle. He loved to see her smile, and especially if he was the reason for that. "Shall we get going?" "After you." He opened the door for her, and once she was comfortably seated in the car, he shut the car door and went to his side. He buckled up his seatbelt and said, "I'm sorry for telling you about this dinner at the end. The dinner was planned, but it almost slipped my mind to tell you." Elisa accepted his apology and asked more about his old friend. "Well, he and I attended the same college. We were good friends, but then I moved to B City and we lost connection. It so happened that he is now my competitor, one of the toughest businessmen in A City, so I contacted him to have dinner with him. I'll tell you more when we'll see him face to face." Elisa chuckled and nodded. He started the car and drove to the destination. After 15 minutes, they reached the restaurant. He parked the car outside of Helena's Aroma, making sure the space was clear. Getting out, he went to open the door for Elisa, and taking his hand, she stepped out of the car. "Wow, the restaurant looks great," she complimented, impressed by the restaurant's exterior. "You will like the food even more." Benjamin requested Elisa to place her hand around his arm, and since he was requesting, she agreed with a sign. Elisa started to feel at ease, but when she saw a familiar face, it snatched her breath in a heartbeat. The familiar blue eyes, the raven hair, and that face, no matter what, she could never forget that. Dressed in an expensive suit, Carson stood in front and was as shocked as she was. His eyes were wide, and he felt his body going stiff. He wasn't expecting to see her, not here, not in this restaurant. Benjamin felt Elisa's body tense and her eyes fixed on the man in front of them. He frowned and asked if she was okay. She could only lie. Benjamin stepped forward and gave a hug to Carson, making Elisa more surprised. So he was the man they were having dinner with. Elisa could have managed easily if it wasn't for the fact that Amanda was standing beside Carson with her arm wrapped around his. The memory of the day when she saw them in the same bed flashed before her eyes, but she chose to disappear them. "Elisa, he is Carson, my old friend, and now my competitor." Benjamin hung his shoulder over Carson's as he playfully introduced him. "She is Elisa, the very best assistant I can ever ask for." He then introduced her to them. Elisa took a step forward and gave them a tight smile. When Carson stretched his hand forward for a handshake, Elisa looked into his eyes and her heart ached to see the look in his eyes. With a stiff tone, she shook his hand and said, "Hello, Mr. Waverley." Elisa turned her attention to Amanda, who was glaring at Elisa. Amanda almost couldn't believe her eyes when she saw her. Thousands of questions were on her mind, and she couldn't ask them in front of Carson. "She is Miss Amanda Havels," Benjamin said, giving a playful eye to Carson. But Carson was focused only on Elisa and his soon-to-be wife. Amanda chimed in, showing off her diamond ring. "Pleased to meet you, Miss Havels." Elisa shook her hand politely, keeping her tone formal. Amanda was hoping for a reaction from Elisa, but she was surprised and annoyed when Elisa was so calm, as if it didn't bother her at all. "Let's go to our seat then, shall we?" Benjamin asked brightly. He asked Elisa if she was feeling okay because her face was pale and her body stiff as if she had seen a ghost. "Tell me once you feel uncomfortable. I will take you home." Elisa faintly smiled at Benjamin's care. The four went to the seat they had booked and took their respective seats. Benjamin and Elisa were seated opposite Carson and Amanda. Amanda intentionally leaned toward Carson to show Elisa that they were deep in love, and Carson had no feelings left for her. Elisa gave no heed to that and chatted with Benjamin. "So, Elisa, how does it feel to work for Benjamin Raymond?" Amanda asked. Elisa cocked her eyebrow, giving her a cold look. Elisa didn't want to talk, so she said perfunctorily, "Well, Benjamin is very capable. I learned a lot from him." But Amanda didn't want to let Elisa off the hook, saying, "I see Elisa is a big fan of your boss." She looked at Carson and said, "If Mr. Benjamin hadn't said Elisa was his assistant, I would have thought they were a couple. They do make a good couple, don't they?" Carson gave Amanda a homicidal look in his eyes. But Benjamin was very happy. He praised Elisa. At the same time, Amanda began to pull back. Benjamin offered to raise a toast to his reunion with Carson. "I'll go to the washroom. Excuse me, please." Elisa got up and hurried to the washroom. When Amanda kept on touching Carson ever when he had said no, Carson hissed at her. "I told you to not touch me. Don't you get it?" Amanda felt hurt, but Carson had always been cold to her. Yet she tried all means to make him like her, but his heart was stuck on Elisa. Amanda rose and excused herself to go to the washroom. Elisa was coming out of the ladies' room when she noticed Amanda. Amanda walked towards her and scoffed with satisfaction. "Long time, Elisa." Elisa ignored her, which made Amanda angry. "Huh, do you think you're something now that you have a rich man with you?" "I can't believe you, Elisa. You are such a slut." Elisa had enough of her nonsense and turned towards her. She glared at her. She noticed her clutching her hand and snatched it from her hold. "I am not interested in having any kind of talk with you, Amanda." "Why? Oh, I see. You must be jealous knowing that Carson is engaged to me, right? Huh, so you better not go around seducing him or else." "Excuse me, seducing him? That's your job, not mine," Elisa retorted. Amanda ground her teeth, a little surprised to see Elisa differently. "So what if I seduced him? Carson loves me now. You cheated on him by hooking someone behind your back 3 years ago. I bet he must be that man." Amanda scorned talking about Benjamin. "What do you want, Amanda? You got him. He is now yours. What problem do you have now? You are the problem. Why do you have to show up here? Did you already know that Carson was a friend to your boss? Is that the reason that you are back to snatch him from me?" Elisa could only laugh at her condition. "My God, how insecure are you, Amanda?" She then coldly told her that she wanted to have nothing to do with her or with Carson. He and I have nothing. Whatever we did, it was over years ago, so please stop accusing me. Elisa was done cleaning and turned on her heels to leave. However, Amanda grabbed her arm outside the washroom and pushed her to the wall. Do you think I'll believe you, you little slut? I saw the way you were looking at him. How greedy can you be, Elisa? You have a hot boss beside you, but still you want to steal my fiancé? A loud slap came to cross Amanda's face that made her ears numb for a moment. Amanda gasped and her nostrils flared. You! But when she noticed Elisa's gaze somewhere else, she turned around to find Carson. She panicked if he heard what she spouted just now. Why did you hit her? Carson asked, looking straight at Elisa with his eyes narrowed. Amanda quickly started to act like she was the victim. She sobbed and went to Carson like she was being hit by Elisa for no reason. Carson, she hit because I just shared that we were going to marry. Apologize, he stated. For a second, Amanda thought he saw right through her and was telling her to apologize to Elisa. Why should I apologize? Your fiancé came and started saying nonsense. She deserves that slap. Elisa stayed rooted to her grounds. What's happening? Benjamin came at the moment, and his eyebrows rose when he saw Amanda crying while her left cheek had the hand impression as if someone hit her. Nothing, man. There was just some misunderstanding between the ladies, but it's sorted. Amanda gaped at him with a baffled expression. How could he? She was about to open her mouth when Carson whispered in her ear, If you dare make any trouble, I will break off this engagement. Elisa was watching them and her blood boiled. Amanda deserved that slap. Elisa had enough of her nonsense. Hey, are you all right? What happened? Benjamin asked tenderly. Elisa shook her head, keeping her eyes on the couple in front of her. There's an urgent matter. We will get going now. It was nice to meet you, Benjamin, and Miss Elisa. Carson sat in a hurry and grabbing Amanda's wrist, he dragged her out of the restaurant and to his car. Elisa was drained. I'm not feeling well. Let's go home, please, she said, more like requested. Benjamin quickly agreed, and they went home. Carson dropped Amanda at her house and left without saying anything. Amanda was in a rage. She stormed inside Havel's residency, yelling in anger. Her mother, Kimberly, came out running from her room, hearing her daughter's fit. She asked what was the matter. Amanda told her mother about Elisa. No, we can't let her stay here. We need to drive her out of the city, Kimberly said. They both started to plot an evil plan how they would chase Elisa out of the city. Kimberly also suggested her daughter let Hera know about Elisa's arrival. Deliberately, Amanda dialed Hera's number. Mom, she cried, you will not believe what happened today. Confused, Hera asked, What happened, Amanda? Is this related to Carson? Elisa is back. The revelation was like a shock to Hera, which made her jump from the couch she was sitting on. What? That wench is back? Hera was fuming with anger now. She had assumed that Elisa must be back for the money and to seduce her son. She won't let that happen. Hera paced around the living room back and forth, thinking in tension about the arrival of Elisa. She tried to call Carson, but he wasn't picking up her call. She hasn't slept well the whole night. She was worried and anxious about the thought of Carson and Elisa getting back together. She couldn't let that happen, and so she asked one of her friends' help to dig out where Elisa resided. It was the mere work of half an hour to find the location. Hera decided to meet Elisa and tell her to stay away from their lives. Elisa was making herself a cup of jasmine tea when she heard the doorbell. Yawning, she went to open the door. She almost lost her footing when she saw the person she expected the very least. Hira stood in front of her, with her eyes narrowed. Elisa sighed and kept her cool. She assumed she was here because of her encounter with Carson. Before Elisa could say anything, Hira snapped at her. How dare you come back? Did you forget what happened 3 years ago? Of course, she was aware. That scene was imprinted in her mind, and even if she wanted to forget, she couldn't. Elisa did not answer her question, and instead asked politely, What are you here for? Hira scoffed at her for faking not know the reason. You ruined my son's life, and now that you say he is happy with the woman he loves, you are here to destroy that? How cruel of you! Elisa curled her fingers into a fist. Oh, wait, are you here for the money? Tell me, do you want that money you left years ago? That made Elisa madder. If you want the money, then I can give you, and after that, you will have to leave. Elisa thought to herself that Hira must have hated her a lot, but Elisa wouldn't cower away. Elisa scoffed and crossed her arms before her chest in modesty. You see, that money wasn't enough for me to leave. Hira widened her eyes and sneered. I knew it, you greedy wench. Just then, Hira heard the footsteps getting close to her, and she guessed someone was behind her. She turned around to find Carson with his face holding a gloomy expression. Hira assumed that he must have heard what Elisa said, and with a sneer at Elisa, she went to Carson with an innocent face. Son. Carson lifted his hand to stop her. He wasn't in the condition to talk to her right now. His eyes were fixed on Elisa. He so happened to find out about Elisa's whereabouts and came to talk to her when he unexpectedly heard the truth. He told her mother to leave, and she did. What did you say earlier? He questioned, taking steps towards her. Elisa tried to keep her expression the same. She didn't want him to hear that, but oh well, what does it matter anyway? I don't like to repeat myself, she articulated, and was about to close the door when Carson put his one leg in between. Grinding her teeth together, she implored, What do you want, Carson? I can't believe you are such a shallow woman, Elisa. I am so disappointed in you. Elisa couldn't help but smile bitterly at his words. Who are you to me? Your opinions don't matter to me, Carson. If there is nothing else, please leave. She cut him mid-sentence fiercely. Carson's jaw ticked at how much angry he was. Giving her one last look, he turned around and stormed out. Once the door was closed, all she could hear was the chaos in her heart. She leaned towards her door, her forehead touching, and a drop of tear left her eye. Pain. She felt immense pain when Carson accused her of wrongness yet again. She should have cleared the misunderstanding, she thought, but the next she thought that why should she? Even if she did, would he even believe her? No. He didn't believe her the day when she begged him she wasn't cheating on him, and he wouldn't believe her now as well. She wiped her tears with the back of her palm and told herself that it wasn't worth it to cry because of him. She won't cry because of him, she promised. When Elisa came to the company late, Benjamin noticed the dull expression she had. He was a little stunned that Elisa was late. Benjamin wanted to ask her, but on what basis? He knew Elisa was uncomfortable whenever he tried to take a step ahead of being her boss, and so he dropped that idea. He called her to his office as an excuse for the documents he had already looked into. Elisa had her head lowered as she passed the documents to him. Elisa? She snapped her attention to him and apologized for being distracted. Benjamin sighed and asked her to take a seat. Tentatively, she did. Her shoulders were slumped as she looked down at her knotted fingers. Benjamin put the documents aside and leaned closer. Let's go for dinner. Taken aback, Elisa blinked twice to make sure she didn't hear wrong. Dinner? Why all of a sudden, sir? You seem to be homesick, Elisa. I understand, so I am giving you a day off. Elisa felt flustered and embarrassed. I apologize, sir. I didn't mean to. It's an order, Elisa. You have to obey it, he told her with a smile. Elisa opened her mouth to argue again, but Benjamin had already ended the discussion. You may leave. Elisa was about to leave when Benjamin added, Oh, and be ready at 7. I will come to pick you up. She nodded and exited the room. She was very grateful to have Benjamin as her boss. He was great at work, and also he had a very good personality. His looks were top-notch as well. Blonde hair, turquoise eyes, and a chiseled jaw. He was a perfect man. Any woman would kill herself to be with him. Elisa wondered sometimes that with a perfect man like him, who takes care of her well, why hadn't her heart skipped a beat for him? With a broken heart that beats for only one man, she didn't dare look at Benjamin in another way. The scars that Carson left were too deep, and no one could heal them. Even if she wanted to move on, she wouldn't be able to do it. 7 hours later, Elisa was ready and she looked very pretty in the purple dress. When she received Benjamin's text, she went downstairs. Benjamin offered his charming smile and a compliment to her. Once they were seated inside the car, he started the engine and drove the car out of the building gates. Sir, why are we having dinner all of a sudden? She asked. Because I want to treat you. Besides, it will help lift your mood, he said playfully. A few minutes they reached the restaurant. When she entered the restaurant, the aroma of delicious dishes made her stomach growl. Benjamin led her to the table he has booked and pulled the seat for her like the gentleman he was. Elisa thanked him again and took her seat. The waiters brought the menu cards and served wine. Elisa's eyes widened a little, noticing the prices of each dish. How expensive. Since it's my treat, you will have to order at least 5 dishes. Benjamin joked, but in other way, he would love to see Elisa spend his money. Elisa took her time to select dishes. Roasted duck with pea sauce, she said, and the waiter wrote her orders on the small notepad. And for the desserts, brownie sundae would be good. Thank you. I'll have the same, Benjamin said. When the waiter left with their orders, he teased her. Hey, didn't I say you have to order 5 dishes? Elisa laughed under her breath. I think I just disrespect your orders, sir, she retorted, making Benjamin amused. She took a sip of wine and glanced around the place. A few minutes later, the waiter came with their orders. Elisa couldn't help but groan at the deliciousness of the duck. Told you, you should order more, Benjamin teased. While the two of them were having a pleasant dinner together, it didn't last when the person Lisa expected to not see stood in front of their table. Would you mind if we join? The familiar deep voice made Lisa look up to see Carson looking at her. Her eyebrows furrowed, wondering what was he doing here. Then she noticed Amanda popping from behind him with the fakest smile she has ever seen. Benjamin was surprised to see him, but at the same time glad. Of course. Come, sit. He welcomed the two. Elisa had lost the appetite to eat and dropped the cutlery in annoyance.